Well, if you use
All the others.
I mean, that's what Lexi just said, that everyone is here to hear about the budget.
Five people. And was one of the protesters, but it's still a person.
I mean,
Maybe things they should be.
Got that thing all going and he went.
This conference will now be recorded.
yes, we all have a problem.
Tom was worried that you wouldn't be here.
But actually, Dewey's problematic too, so.
It is daughter is in.
Katie. What's her name? She was
I'll get controversial here.
Good evening.
Thought about having a pet meeting.
Let's call the meeting to order, please. Want to take the roll? Michelle?
Mayor Zakowski,
Here.
Alderman Kittle,
Here.
Alderman Vries,
Here.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Here.
Alderman Montello,
Here.
Alderman Volkert, Alderperson Kraft.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Your motion to adopt the agenda as proposed.
I make a motion, we adopt the agenda.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved. Any public comments? Any? You don't have to be sorry about the public comment. Consent agenda. I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. First item is a public hearing for the 2023 operating budget and 2023 to 2027 capital improvement plan. I declare the public hearing open.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you all are aware, over the last several months, we've been working very diligently to develop the 2023 budget. The budget that the city adopts on an annual basis is one of the most important financial documents, as it provides the roadmap of how resources will be expended to meet community needs in the coming year. As part of the process each year, the council develops guiding principles and priorities to assist in the budget development. And for 2023, three main areas came to surface as part of those discussions and the formulation of the budget. Number one being ensuring sufficient resources are available to provide current service levels to the community, focusing on investment in existing infrastructure through annual maintenance or reconstruction to ensure reliability. This priority is being accomplished in the 2023 budget by increased funding for sidewalk and street maintenance, restoring these funding levels to pre-COVID numbers. Additionally, during the last work session, the council directed staff to increase the street maintenance budget from $100,000 to potentially $175,000. And that change is outlined in the budget book that's in front of you this evening. Additionally, the second priority was to continue to prioritize a positive employee culture by supporting and developing policies and initiatives that enhance employee engagement, retention, and attraction. In August of this year, the City Council adopted a compensation policy which provided structure to compensation methodology, striving to remain competitive with other employers in the market, ensuring experience and pay was commensurate and internally equitable. The 2023 budget plans for compensation adjustments to address wages that are below the midpoint based upon the compensation policy. Additionally, training and educational funding has been increased to those pre-COVID levels to support continued education and professional development of our staff. And lastly, planning for future public safety needs to ensure resources are available to serve community growth. The 2022 budget included the addition of 2 patrol officers, and during the 22 budget, the council expressed interest to increase patrol officers by 1 position annually over the next 4 years. The 2023 budget will incorporate an additional patrol officer through a hiring process beginning in '23, with the full-time hiring of that in '24. So there's no budget impact in '23, but the plan still of increasing patrol officers to serve the community. Additionally, financial sustainability, operational flexibility, and preservation of fund reserves is of highest importance in our budget development. This is especially true as we develop the 2023 budget, given certain economic challenges, including inflation, supply chain constraints that we faced in 2022 and anticipate continuing into 2023. With that, we'll go into the details of the budget. Michelle's just going to bring up, and this is a little bit difficult to read from here, but it is in the book. We are presenting this evening a balanced budget, so our revenues and expenditures offset each other. The balance budget represents $8,888,164 in revenues and in expenditures. It is an increase of $602,870 from prior year, which is an 8.1% increase. And then, Michelle, if you want to go to page 66. The proposed budget would result in a total levy of $7,028,255, an increase of $751,660, or 11.98% from prior year. The levy is composed of 4 different aspects, one being the general fund, which facilitates the operations of most city services. The levied amount for the general fund would be $4,900,657. Debt service is what we levy in order to pay our obligations for capital projects. The 2023 levy requires $1,596,948 for debt service. Capital replacement remains unchanged, which is $115,000, and that levy goes to help replace aging equipment, vehicles, things of that nature. And then finally is the tax increment district levy of $415,650, which is a slight reduction from prior year of $64,185. The impact of the proposed levy would result in a mill rate of $5.86 per $1,000 of assessed value. This is a slight decrease from prior year of 13 cents, or 2.17% per $1,000 of assessed value when compared to last year. With that, if there's any specific questions or additional discussion related to the operating side or the levy itself, we'd be happy to address any of those questions. And then I have the capital improvement plan that I can review too.
I think it would be instructive for people to understand how we can have a budget increase, but yet the mills per $1,000 of value goes down.
Question. So, Michelle, maybe can you go one more page up, please? Where we get to the equalized value. So in 2022's equalized value has increased very substantially. We are at just over $1.2 billion in value, which was an increase of about 20% in the city's tax base growth. So to Mike's question in regards to how can we see an increase in the levy but yet see a decrease in the mill rate, it's based upon the increase in the tax base that we are experiencing due to that growth. Additionally, we had Tax Increment District 5, which is on the south end of town, which closed in 2022, and that tax base of just over $20 million also comes on to the tax roll and has a positive impact then in regards to when it translates over into a mill rate. So the combination of growth within the community, tax increment district closures, is able to then spread what that total levy is over a broader base, resulting in a lower mill rate.
And I think really the genesis of the question that I just asked you is that this is really hard for the average person to listen to this done a great job. All staff has done a great job on this, but it's really hard for the average person to listen to it and kind of make sense of it. Increase, decrease. I think it's just super highlights. It's important for people to understand the community has grown, not just an increased land valuation, but obviously when you see development going on, that adds to the tax base. But it also adds to the expense of providing goods and services for that tax base. And we had a discussion you and I did during a work session a couple of meetings ago where I asked you, have we taken an approach to take things out of the budget that don't absolutely have to be there? And I appreciate the effort that you have done to do that, because I think the average person who pays real estate taxes can ask themselves, okay, well, I'm paying this money, are they using it wisely? And speaking on behalf of myself, and I think I'm going to speak on behalf of staff, we've definitely taken an approach to eliminate or greatly reduce spending that isn't critical. And that's kind of an opinion thing about certain things, right? Some people would say, well, you should spend on this, but we have taken an approach, and again, I think a great job by staff to really cut out the fat. But people have to understand that you can't have, okay, so we have the effects of inflation, and then we have the effects of, as the city grows, it costs more. I just think it's hard for the average person, and you do a great job with the report, but the average person who's listening is just like, okay, what does it all mean? So I really just wanted to draw that out.
Any other questions from the council?
So our taxes went down,
The mill rate went
the
down.
city portion,
The mill rate went down, yes.
correct?
And again, when we see a mill rate, depending upon the assessment of your home,
Yeah.
the mill rate could go down, but you could also see an increase depending on the value of your home. So
Good. Yep.
Any other questions?
you want me to just cover the capital
Yeah.
quick before we close the meeting? Thank you. And then just moving on to the capital improvement plan, really the capital improvement plan is a 5-year plan. It incorporates on an annual basis. We adopt a 1 year of that plan, and then the other 4 years are continually working and being reevaluated year over year. The 2023 plan really is a year that will be resetting kind of our processes and serving to hopefully get into a better structure, especially when it comes to street and construction projects. So getting in a reset period, what that means is that in year 1, you would be designing the street and utility reconstruction project. In year 2, it would be bid out, and actually construction would begin in that year too. So in 2023, there are obviously capital projects that need to be addressed or vehicles that need to be replaced as well. But this year's plan is a little bit less than prior years. So we do identify $3.7 million in city-related projects. That does not include the library, depending upon how the library continues to move forward. With that, $2.8 million of those projects would be being paid through grant funding or other sources aside from borrowing, which would require the remaining $1.1 million to require some form of financing in 2023. The utility, which incorporates our electric, water, and sewer utility, has $6 million in projects, with $5 million of this in financing. And again, the greatest project that is encompassed in the utility aspect is substation upgrades that are starting to begin now and will complete in 2024. And that $5 million is the bulk of the financing requirement or the needs that are in the utility. And so with that, if there are any questions specifically on capital, again, we're really utilizing 2023 as a reset year to kind of reset our planning cycle, our bidding cycle, to potentially have a greater synergies moving forward. So.
Questions from the council? Any questions from the audience? Not, anybody else wish to speak? Anybody else wish to speak? Anybody else wish to speak? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. Do I hear a motion to approve the 2023 operating budget and the 23 to 27 capital improvement plan?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Michelle, you want to take the roll, please?
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vries? Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderperson Kraft?
Yes.
Motion passes. New business, consideration of possible action on a resolution approving an amendment to the project plan for tax increment District Number 7.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I can kick this off as well. On the virtual meeting, we also have Sean Lentz with Ellers on. He'll be going over the majority of the presentation tonight that encompasses the amendment, the project plan for to number 7. But I can give you a little bit of background and then I'll turn it over to Sean. Tax increment district number 7 was created in 2003. It is located between 4th and High Street, encompasses the area where Dairy Queen to kind of the current Speedway is that area. In
Fran, you mean North 4th Street?
North 4th Street, sorry. The TID was created in 2003 and with the classification of a blight elimination and rehabilitation district. At this time, what the city is seeking to do is amend to number 7 to incorporate a half-mile project located at 262 North Knowles Avenue, which is the old DQ site. And additionally, we wish to share increment with tax increment District 11, which is where the current BB lofts are being constructed or where the old BB building used to be at. So incorporated in the memo tonight is the project plan. Sean has kind of consolidated the project plan into a few slides to go over that information with you. In regards to process, last week we did an initial meeting with the Joint Review Board. At that time, they are given the draft of the project plan. This plan was also presented to the Plan Commission last Thursday and a public hearing was held on that. At that meeting, the Plan Commission recommended and adopted that plan. So tonight we have council action, and in the packet is a resolution that's outlining potential adoption for this project plan amendment. The final steps would be then on tomorrow, on Tuesday, for the Joint Review Board, which reconvenes, and at that time, the Joint Review Board will take final action on the project plan. After the Joint Review Board takes potential action on that, that's when the tax increment district would actually be amended. And so with that, I will turn it over to Sean to go through the information in the slides.
Thank you, Rayanne, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Can I assume you guys are hearing me okay? Rayanne, would you or Michelle go through or be going through the slides, or do I need to share my screen?
We can advance the slides for you, Sean.
Okay, why don't we go to slide number 3 then? Great, thank you. Rayanne did a really good job of covering this topic, so instead of repeating areas that she's covered, I'll just hit on the projections of both tax increment district number 7 and district number 11 should the council proceed with the amendment to the district. As Rayanne had mentioned, the primary purposes were to do an additional project in TID number 7, which is an urban renewal project involving the city's community development authority to redevelop the old Dairy Queen site and to share revenues from District 7 to District 11 to assist in some additional expenses that came up with completing the redevelopment of the BB site, that tax increment district was created earlier this year. On page 3 of the presentation this evening, what I wanted to mention and highlight for the council is even with these additional expenses to TID number 7, we are expecting District 7 to have more than sufficient funds to terminate in 2026. And this is likely a very conservative projection because it does not include the additional revenues that will be created in TID 7 from the clinic project. So with doing these additional projects in District 7, it's still going to be able to be closed well in advance of its maximum time period of 2031. Okay, Rand, could we go to the next slide? Now, District number 11, as I'd mentioned, is just at the beginning of its life, and the primary expenditure of the district is using it to repay some TID eligible expenses to the development group over the life of the district. But there was some additional costs in order to make the project move forward and be financially successful. That was the, as shown on this chart, the $150,000 in development agreement payments. And also what's noted here is there was an advance from the city's general fund to tax increment district number 11 to do projects as well. That advance was originally projected to be repaid over the entire life of the district, ending out into 2050. But with the assistance from TID number 7, that advance is able to be paid back much quicker to make the general fund whole. And finally, if you look at the right side of this page, showing the projected cash flow at TID 11, you'll see starting in 26 forward, we're projecting an accumulation of additional funds in the district. Those funds could be used for either one of two purposes: additional projects around District 11 or within a half mile, or the city could also, accelerate the payment back to the development agreement expense that currently is set to go through 2050 and close the tax increment district early if that was the case. And as Rayanne mentioned earlier, these tax increment districts at the front end are trying to spur new development or redevelopment in the city. The long-term payoff of the districts is an expanded tax base, new job opportunities, new housing opportunities. And with that expanded tax base, it can be put to work to assist the community in maintaining a very positive and flexible budget, as was shown with the closing of tax increment district number 5 this year, which has certainly been an advantage to the general fund for budget 2023. So with that, I'll turn it back to the mayor and to the council for any questions that you might have. I think Rayanne's already talked about the timeline, which is the last page of this presentation, so I won't go through that again. But should the council move forward today, likely the district would be completed and approved tomorrow.
Any question from the council?
Well, I'm going to throw one out there. The specific funds that we're doing this for benefit relative to cost incurred in acquiring the old Dairy Queen site.
Correct. So the half-mile project in regards to the DQ site that was purchased, what the city is seeking to do is to have the CDA, the Community Development Authority, empowered in that area. And actually the city would sell the land to the Community Development Authority, thereby making it an eligible TID expenditure, which would allow the initial investment to be repaid.
I bring it up because I know there's been a lot of chatter over the last couple of years about that project, and just important for people to understand that taxpayers in the city of New Richmond.
I think is for this project here and then also the BB building, both of those, the city invested money in there, but the city's going to get the money back on both these projects, and that's the key thing here. I guess you could call it urban renewal, and getting rid of some of the old and then getting new in there, maybe more traffic from people using the downtown area, people living in the downtown area. So that's the main thing with both these projects. No other questions? Do you hear a motion to consider the project plan for tax increment District Number 7 and suspend the rules?
I'm going to offer a motion that we approve this.
Oh, that's the date.
No, you would just say a resolution approving an amendment to the project plan of tax increment District Number 7.
I'm going to offer a motion that we approve a resolution to amend the relationship between 11 and 7 as it's been laid out tonight.
Any further discussion? Not, Michelle, take the roll, please.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert, Alderperson Kraft,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is Save the Give Challenge celebration.
Good evening,
celebrate.
Mayor and City Council. If you want to go ahead to the podium. Very excited. We have a lot of guests here in the audience this evening to celebrate the conclusion of the Save to Give Challenge. Just for some background on this, the City of New Richmond applied in the summer of 2021 to be considered part of a pilot program called the Save to Give Challenge, and we are one of 2 communities selected for this year. In our application, we noted that New Richmond is home to the first community-owned electric utility in Wisconsin, which was founded in 1890. We also are home to one of the first community solar gardens in the state of Wisconsin, which was built in 2015. And we really felt that the Save to Give Challenge gave a great opportunity for us to combine our utility locally here and our passion for environmental sustainability with what we really feel is one of the great strengths of our community, and that's its generosity. New Richmond is truly a community that cares. Our businesses and individuals support one another through fundraising, volunteering, making meals, building with Habitat for Humanity, and in this case, saving energy to benefit 3 local nonprofits. As you'll see from Matthew and some of the photos he'll show, Save to Give Challenge has had a very visible presence in our community in the past year. Residents have learned that simple steps to save energy can really add up when we all do our part. We really appreciate Focus on Energy for selecting New Richmond to participate in this program, and we hope that community members will continue to practice these energy-saving habits even after the program has ended. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Matthew with Focus on Energy, who will share the highlights from this past year and also announce our final results.
Thank you so much, Noah. Yeah, really great to be with you all here today. Council and Mayor, thank you for giving us some of your time out of your agenda to celebrate the Save to Give Challenge with us. So yeah, we could go to the next slide. So yeah, well, thank you for those words, Noah. We'll give a quick overview of the Save to Give Challenge, how it went in New Richmond, and then most importantly, we'll celebrate our 3 nonprofits that worked with us on the challenge and finish up with some photos. So what is the Save to Give Challenge? Noah gave us a little overview, but basically it's a program from Focus on Energy, which is Wisconsin's state energy office, Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy Office. And the program is a community-wide challenge for residents to become more aware of their energy use and reduce energy waste. And the way this works is that it's a way for residents to save energy by learning easy, free energy-saving actions to take at home. And then by doing that, they earn donation dollars for our local nonprofits. So the 3 nonprofits that are worked with us on the challenge and receiving those donations are Five Loaves Food Shelf. We have Jean Needham here today. We have Will's Playground, Teresa DeYoung is with us, and Rachel Savla with the Source Center Student Farm. And we'll hear more from them in a little bit. So for folks who weren't able to participate in the challenge, I'll just give a quick overview. So basically in January, April, and October of this year, we had 1-month-long donation campaigns where we challenged residents to log online, record all the ways that they're saving energy, and then each thing they record earns donation points for nonprofits. So next slide. So it was really easy. So the first step is to log on to your My Account with New Richmond Utilities. The next step was to choose a nonprofit, a terrible choice to have to make, but you got to choose which of the nonprofits your donation dollars go to. And then the main challenge was that each week of the month where we were doing a donation campaign, you were challenged to log in and record all the ways you saved energy. So everything from turning off lights in rooms that are unoccupied, to taking fast showers, to ordering a free light bulb pack from Focus on Energy. Each thing you did and then recorded online earned between $2 up to $20 per action, and that added up to quite a bit of money over the year. And throughout the year, we got to see this progress page grow from $0 raised and 0 participants up to a groundbreaking 394 participants. New Richmond blew that out of the water compared to any other community in Wisconsin that has done the Save to Give challenge. So big kudos there. And we raised a total of $14,380 for our 3 nonprofits. So some of the highlights we had for the year, and we can go to the next slide, were, again, the 394 participants. It was just amazing to see the turnout. We learned very quickly that New Richmond has a lot of community pride, and that was just very evident and a pleasure to kind of catalyze and be a part of. We raised a total of $14,380 to be donated by Focus on Energy to our 3 nonprofits. That was from taking those energy-saving actions. And then New Richmond Utilities is also donating another $1,580, missing an 8 there, to kind of add on to the program. And that'll be about $500 to each nonprofit. And we were busy this year. We attended a lot of community events. There are just a wealth of lovely events here in town. So we were at 37 community events. We signed up 275 people at these events. I got to have a lot of great conversations with folks. And also at these events, we gave out over 150 brochures for free energy-saving packs and gave out some free LED light bulbs as well. We also door knocked 390 doors throughout the city over 11 evenings. I got a case of cherry tomatoes homegrown in someone's garden. That was my favorite evening. And beyond that, a few of the events that were highlights were we got to table at 3 New Richmond High School football games, got to be part of that community pride, got to hear Councilmember Montello announce, which was great. And Teresa, Jean, and Rachel, and some high school students joined us as well. And then we also hosted 2 energy-saving workshops at Friday Memorial Library, which had really great turnout and showed the interest in learning of the community as well. And these are just a few photos from the year. We attended last December's hometown holiday, St. Patrick's Day parade. We got to visit the Soar farm, thanks to Rachel. And in the middle here, we have a picture of Wanda, who is one of our most steadfast and committed participants. And I got to see her at every single event I was at because she's always active and out in the community. So thank you, Wanda, for being such a good participant. Great. And with that, we're at the most important part of the evening, which is celebrating our 3 nonprofits. So yeah, we can go to our next slide after that. So yeah, as I mentioned, we have 5 Loaves Food Shelf, Will's Playground, and then the new Richmond District Store Center Student Farm. So what I'll do is just in that order, if we'll have, so Gina, we'll start with you, have you come up. We'll award you with your check and hear a few words and take a quick picture. We'll celebrate more.
Matthew, Gene's coming up. I just want to say the reason New Richmond had the success that they did, Rachel Savla, try to say no to her sometime.
I'll say a few words. Well, I want to acknowledge Matthew. I think the honest to goodness, hardworking person that really made this a success is him. I mean, I'm just, yeah. And thank you. This was a wonderful, wonderful fundraiser, as well as a chance to really learn some things about what you can do to save energy. So it was a no-brainer as to, yes, we'd love to be involved with it. And everything I thought turned out. So again, thank you, Matthew, and your staff for doing this for us. And thank all of you for answering the questions every week and doing what you could do to make this a worthwhile endeavor. So thank you very much. And you can see we did really well.
Gene, does the math still work? $1 to 5 loaves is worth $7 worth of food, roughly?
Yeah, so
there's
we're talking 42,000. Yeah.
of food there.
Yeah. And we need it right now. There are a lot of community members that are using the food shelf. And, you know, we suffer from the same thing a lot of you do. Vendors aren't getting supplies, and so we aren't getting food. And, you know, it's the same. And so this is great. So thank you.
All right, Teresa, come on up.
Thank you. I want to echo what Jean said and thank Matthew and Brady and everyone that helped us with this. It really was a fun project, and it was fun to see the interaction at the football games with the high school students, getting all of the participants to sign up. We really had a lot of fun. We got to make a little commercial, so if anyone watched the football games on the live stream, they got to see all of us on there, and that was really cool. My kids thought that it was really fun to see Mom on TV. And yeah, and so we're just so grateful that the community stepped up, and even these little small actions they took by taking shorter showers, shutting their lights off, they can say they helped build Will's Playground. And as you can see, you know, $4,850 is a lot towards that goal, and hopefully next summer that they can, you know, see the fruits of their labor. And so we're just so very grateful.
Last but not least, we'll have Rachel come on up.
It was a pleasure to be included in this wonderful opportunity, and I just have to echo the kind words of the ladies before me, Brady and Matthew. Every idea I had for them, I'm kind of an idea lady. We tabled at the first football game, and I was like, guys, we need this, 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 and this. You've got 2 weeks to make it happen. And they made it happen every time. I mean, I think you had something in your yard, Mr. Montello. So, I mean, those were crazy ideas that just kind of flow from a high school teacher. And so they helped make it happen. And certainly we've mentioned Wanda and how wonderful this contribution was from her heart. So thank you, Wanda, for being that steadfast participant. Each time she would log, she would send a little message. I made this many dollars for the SOAR Center, Rachel. So it was much appreciated. And Joe and Aletha, thank you for helping Wanda get to the farm. Wanda in and of herself is a success story from our farm because she sat and planted the herb garden this past summer, at the beginning of summer. And through the capabilities of my students making some raised garden beds, we are really able to offer opportunities for everyone at the school farm. So she could take her walker right up to it. And as I looked over and watched her planting seeds with some kids, some of them were my own personal kids, she would just look down at her hands and giggle because her hands were dirty. And she was working in the soil, and those herbs grew. She was able to come back. Wanda's even adopted a calf at our farm this past year, so super supporter. And all of the SOAR Center supporters and volunteers, we certainly thank you for your efforts with Save to Give. So thanks for letting me be a part of it. And my students too. I mean, you saw cow suits, you saw them running. Did you know that there's a family that watches football games from the hill across the street? They were fair game for Save to Give too. Our runners from cross country made their way up the hill across the street, and it was fun. We got some 3 signups in the rain under that little tent. So nobody was going to say no to us. You're right, Mike. I've taught my students that too. So thank you.
I love it. I love it.
Would just like to thank Matthew Brady, the Focus on Energy team again for all their work. I'd love to recruit them for National Night Out, Library Building Project, elections. Have truly become kind of part of the community with their presence this past year. So thank you all for all of your help.
Thank you for your dedication. Next item is disc golf course parking lot request, and I have Dave Mells here. Oh, excuse me.
Yep.
One more ahead of that. I was a guest speaker last week at the American Legion on Friday for Veterans Day, and Don Shane here was going to bring in this citation, but he gave it to me and read it to me at the American Legion. And it's the American Legion Department of Wisconsin 10th District, whereas the city of New Richmond was chosen for the 10th District Legion Department of Wisconsin 2022 Fall Conference. And whereas the city of New Richmond has extended warmth of hospitality and cooperation in making it another outstanding and memorable conference. Therefore, be it resolved that the delegates, alternates, legionnaires, and visitors assembled October 1st, 2022 for the Fall Conference in Richmond, Wisconsin, thanks and commends the populace and officials for being good hosts for this Memorial Day. And to be further resolved that the resolution be presented to the officials of the city of New Richmond at the next official meeting. And it's District Adjutant Steve Isney and District Commander Larry Larson signed this. So this is because the city treated them very well when they were here, and they really appreciated it. Now we'll go to disc golf, and Dave Mells. Michelle, can you want to go up there, Dave? She's going to run that 4-minute clip on the drone. This is drone footage for the disc golf site, and Dave's going to explain what we're looking at here.
Dave, I wonder if you want to get in front of the microphone.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dave Mells. I work with the New Richmond Public Works, and Mayor Jim asked me to stop in and give a quick update on the new disc golf course. I've been leading the construction over the past year, and we're probably 80 to 85% along as far as finishing the construction. Last year we did a lot of tree removal, brushing, mowing of the field grass, and then over this past summer and then this fall we've been working on establishing the fairways, disking up all the farmland. We've got about 32 acres. It's all farmland. It was really rough. So we've disced it up, tilled it up, and leveled it out, and everything has been put to seed to this point. So we're hoping that grass will establish itself next spring. And then, so with that, yeah, construction's gone well. I've had some additional help this year with a coworker who actually took this video. He's on board with it, and he's done a great job. And then basically, you know, it could be open. Basically, the only thing really left to do is install the baskets. So people could go out there and you know, start disc golfing, but there's a few things we'd like to do to make it a little bit better. So, like I said, the coworker took this video, made this drone video a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, if you want to just hold it right there.
Hey, Dave, just for the sake of some folks who maybe don't even know where the compost site is, I know the roadway's on there, down where the dog park is, kind of just the general, so people understand where this is relative to the city.
That,
The picture that was up there, the southern edge of that actually abuts property, and they actually donated some land to the city.
for $1.
It's basically free. They gave us a long-term lease or a lease for a period of time.
Yeah, so it's $1 a year. So either party could opt out. So if if the land were sold someday, if the city wanted that that could potentially serve as the parkland dedication requirements for that land. But yeah, if for some reason, if the Newman family didn't want baskets on there, we would have to remove them. And same thing for the city if for some reason there are issues. But very generous of them to allow us to use it.
Question for Dave at all?
Dave, you, just because I know a lot of the people or some of the people that are waiting to get out there, you meant Memorial Weekend, not Labor Day weekend? Okay. Yeah, because we'll get cards and letters.
Yes, now the plan is for a soft opening maybe in May, and then ribbon cutting in June or July. I think that's the plan right now. Because like Dave said, we're about 85% finished now. Just the whole signs have to be finished and then put the anchors in baskets. And then baskets in, and the benches that were bought, they'll be put it out there and cemented in also.
I just want to make a quick comment to Dave and anybody else that worked out there. I know there was it wasn't just Dave, but you guys just did a phenomenal job. It's just a totally different piece of property. A lot of hard work went into that, and I know it did. And you and your staff and Eric and everybody involved just did a phenomenal job out there. When you walk it now, it looks like a disc golf course. And a year ago, it looked like just a bunch of trees out there. So, and again, I want to thank Jim publicly for getting all the donations and all the money. He worked tirelessly to get thousands and thousands of dollars for this project, and you did a phenomenal job of getting that done. So thanks to the crew and the amazing work you've done, and Jim to get the donations and it off the ground. So just wanted to thank you.
I completely agree. I also want to just give a shout out to Jim's helper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very persuasive in her own right. And it really is, for those of you who had an opportunity to get out there, you understand it's quite the walk. I'm not a big golfer. I'd probably be a bigger disc golfer than a golfer, and I happen to ascribe to what Mark Twain said about golf, that it was a good walk spoiled. But you will have a great walk when you go out to that disc golf. It really is, it's actually incredible. I mean, some people would describe that as throwaway land, if there is nothing with it. In fact, you didn't even really.
We weren't even aware it was there,
Right.
to be
So
honest with you.
It's very nice.
I give Dave Poofall credit for that, finding that piece of land. But then Dave and Matt Bonkowski, yeah, those two were out there, and Dave was the lead on that, but they took that from raw land, which was hard to walk at times because of all the thickets and all that type of stuff, and they did a phenomenal job. I think it's 32, 33 acres, and you took it from nothing to this beautiful course. We're going to have leagues out there, and it's going to be well used. Thanks again, Dave, for your tremendous job.
Ask Dave. Ask Dave. No, we're
Putting
not.
pressure on him now. Right now, there's the Richmond Disc Golf on Facebook. And eventually
Facebook
looking at a
page so
website.
far.
So, Mr. Mayor, I understand that part of why we're addressing this tonight is to make a determination about where the parking is going to be. If you look at that map, the area that's in brown that says, I think does that say 6,800 square feet?
6,000.
6,000 square feet. I'm going to refer to that as the west area that's kind of up on the hill. And then if you drag that cursor all the way over to the parking area we're talking about, east of the building, I don't know who's got keep going, go up. That area right in there.
If you just go further.
There you go. So I think that based on being out there and understanding, and I guess I appreciate what you said, you can determine whole numbers based on where the parking area is, but that's a fairly flat area, and it really makes sense to me that first of all, the park board's recommending that the parking lot be in that 23,000 square foot area. And secondly, I really think we need to think about this area as more than a disc golf course. I really think we need to talk about it being a city park that happens to have a disc golf course in it. The idea someday of having a shelter or multiple shelters out there, I can imagine a large family type gathering and people say, hey, we're having this get together here. I think we sell ourselves short if we talk about that just being for disc golf course. I know when I've talked to the mayor, this suggestion that cross-country skiing in the wintertime, I think it's a project that was brought on by this efforts to create a disc golf course, but it will serve the city and can serve the city way beyond that. And part of it is us having the right parking area that's closer to where amenities would be, because you definitely aren't going to have any amenities up on the monitoring land. In fact, I'm assuming other than concrete pads, you probably, could you build anything up there, Eric? Yeah. On the monitoring land. Sure. So in any event, I just think the aesthetics down below, I know that, and I appreciate the work that you did. I presume you did that, Eric, sending out kind of A, B, and C, or you put that together, or you worked on it. Somebody did. I did the maps. Okay, Katrina, good job. I like pictures.
Thank you.
But I will say this. I think that there's a number of logistical issues that I don't think we're prepared to answer tonight. Relative to, yes, I know that fencing needs to be out there, where all it needs to be. I had a recent discussion relative to just kind of plans for the other part of the area there that the city has been using for fill. They've been taking fill too. We've been pulling dirt out of there and how that all would work. So I don't want to cut anybody short in terms of if anybody has any questions. I am prepared to offer a motion. I'm not offering it yet, but I am prepared to offer a motion that we pick what I guess I'm going to refer to as the 23,000 square foot site. Just
Plan B.
I'm sorry?
Plan B.
Plan B. But with leaving a number of questions unanswered tonight, we have a number of months to get that worked out. And actually, I would send this back to Public Works to really kind of put some time into talking about how the rest of the infrastructure should be around this. Fencing, where the gate should be, that type of thing. So I'm not going to offer that as a motion just yet because I don't want to curtail any conversation.
I do. I'm looking at this. I know that some money has been spent on the original parking lot, which you call the west side there. I'm way okay with moving the parking down to the further full comprehensive plan. Where are the next things going to happen? Where are we going to build potentially what else can this be used for? And I think before we commit funds and project dollars to this, I would like to see us have a better plan in place for the overall, even though we're only going to do part of it now, having a plan for going forward so we don't build parking lots again that incorporate that into your motion. That's my comments on it. I think this is a fabulous project, and I can see a lot of things that potentially could go here. You talk about cross-country skiing, perhaps an alternate course for a fat tire bike race. Awful lot of things that can happen out here both summer and winter.
Other questions?
No, I know there's some time constraints on getting the bottom parking lot approved, or at least so we can know where hole 1 is and hole 18 is.
So we get the
We
signage.
need to make the signs, and they've got to be, we don't have, we don't have all the time in the world to get those signs made up and constructed. So I think that's part of the reason we would like, as a park board, to kind of make sure that that's 1 and 18, so we can know that it's down there, so.
Well, then with that being said, I'm going to offer a motion that we approve the 23,000. It's identified in that map as the parking area, but to Alderman Vries's comments and concerns, which I agree with, and send this back. So that part's done. Now I want to send it back to Public Works to really work on actually, the park board needs to chime in as well in terms of, really what could the plan be 5 years from now or so on, as Pete starts talking about shelters, the different types of uses. Whatever we do, I want to make sure that it's got the greatest use for folks. So, yeah, that didn't sound very condensed, but
Did you get that? Did you get that in the motion?
I just, again, that we
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Michelle, you want to take the roll, please?
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderperson Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vries?
Yes.
Motion passes. Correct. 18 will be coming in and 1 will be going out from the parking lot.
We'll worry about the logistic of the fencing and how the fence is gonna look and how many there is and how many openings with.
Correct.
The parking lot's down there, the main one. Overflow can still be used. If we have a big tournament there, or Wisconsin State tournament, or something down in those lines, there's certainly possibility that up on top parking lot could certainly be overflow parking, definitely. Yep. That's the main parking lot, is
I'm going
the
to talk to Richard Rouse.
east parking lot.
We'll make sure that those items go to Public Works Committee and Park Board. We also want to have discussion as well for the police department. Obviously uses that as their shooting area, making sure that they're not losing that access.
No, they
So,
won't.
No,
It'll be
Yeah,
the
so I'm
same
just saying
as
we'll
when,
discuss that, but.
when it was a compost site, when the chief is going to have shoots out there, he lets us know ahead of time, and it'll be closed down that day then, because that's what it was when it was a compost site. So that whenever he needs that, we'll shut it down for a couple of days if necessary, whenever side hits.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, but you say when that was a compost site.
I think he means when it's open. I think he means when it's
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
open. And I think
We're talking
this-
about past tense of compost.
Yeah, there may be, really championship level disc golf courses like this in the United States, but none that include gunfire. So, that's just a whole nother element.
Well, I wouldn't probably guarantee that. Oh, controlled gunfire. Okay, then I might agree with that.
Okay, we digress. Concept plan application, Gloverdale Development.
Gloverdale.
Gloverdale.
It is Glover.
It is Cloverdale. I thought it was Cloverdale too.
Gloverdale. Gloverdale.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. TEG Land Holdings, also known as Creative Homes or Twin City Land Development, has applied for a concept plan application of the recently annexed 200 acres, which were previously turkey farms, which we will now call Gloverdale. This application is used to gather information from city staff, plan commission, and council, and any other boards and commissions we see fit. The DRC reviewed this concept plan and provided the comments you'll see in the memo. And we also brought this forward to Plan Commission last week and gathered their opinions on it. So now I wanted to bring it forward to you to voice your voice your opinions and then also ask any questions. We have Ben Schmidt here from Twin Cities Land Development, if you have any questions for him. You are welcome to give any comments directly tonight, or you can email me as well. But we'll have it on the screen if you want to go to the other one, Michelle. Yep, thank you.
Ben, did you want to add anything? If you want to go up to the microphone, then please.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ben Schmidt, Twin Cities Land Development, as she stated, cover a couple different companies up here, but really representing the development. And, you know, we had, I think, good conversation with the Planning Commission the other night. I think generally the plan was received relatively favorably. Obviously, we've got some details that need to be worked out. That was brought out at the Planning Commission. As we go through from concept plan to preliminary plat, those will all get worked out. There'll be plenty of opportunities to work out those details for council, Planning Commission, and members of the public to weigh in. We are really just looking for, before we close on the property, just make sure we're on the right path so we don't get too far sideways. So really don't have anything more to add other than we're excited to push forward. We would, well, anything that came up at the Planning Commission, we would anticipate we start on phase 1 next year, which is kind of the single family on the northern portion of this. You know, the way the market's gone so far this year, we'll see, but that would still be our anticipation. But know that the whole project is over a number of years. I mean, it is a 5 to 10 year kind of project. So not a lot will change dramatically overnight out there. With that, I'm happy to stand for any questions. I don't need to take up any more time. Just running. Oh, I feel like it's a little over 20, maybe 30 acres up there. Yes, single family residential, yep.
And I'm not asking you to tip your hand, but that doesn't mean necessarily that's to be determined as to what it will be.
Yeah, for sure. But we did want to, and that was the purpose of the concept plan, was to kind of show what our thoughts are in terms of where we might have some more single family, where we might have some twin homes, some row homes, and then of course where we might have some multifamily apartment type things and some commercial. So although, again, just concept plan, so nothing set in stone up here, and obviously every component of this would have to meet the applicable ordinances. But just to give some idea of, I mean, this is kind of what we see happening on the future phase of it going forward. You know, again, obviously subject to a little bit of change, but it is our vision for the entire parcel.
This is just a concept plan tonight. Further details will be coming, but this is just to get this, move this along then, basically. Any other questions?
One quick thing on traffic. I know all the additions we have coming in are more and more traffic in County Road A, and if coming off Richmond Way heading west, even County Road A is getting busier all the time. Just so we have, and I don't know that it's your issue, that it's more of a city issue. We just got to be cognizant of traffic in that area, and it's going to be a challenge because there's going to be a lot of new homes in there, and I hope soon.
Yeah, and I know that was identified in the staff report that the intersection on County Road A and
Richmond Way.
Names, I'm not even sure what road I live on some days. So that was identified in the staff report that that's a intersection that will likely need some upgrades. So we certainly understand that. And again, that isn't necessarily all our lead to take, but we also understand that there will be some upgrades that will be needed there.
The county is actually performing intersection analysis on Richmond Way and Business 64. Currently has the engineering going on the intersection analysis for those areas, and they're aware of this development possibly going forward.
Good. Thank you.
And I'll sit back down.
One last question, Gloverdale. What's the?
You can ask your city staff relative to that. We, you know, it's interesting. We spend a fair amount of time trying to come up with names, and invariably you run out of names eventually, right? You kind of done them all. I've been doing this a long time, despite my boyish looks. And you run out of names, and so we had, and one of the things that we like to do when we come up with a name is present it to city staff, not that they get to decide necessarily, but what we don't ever want to do is come up with a name that, one time I named something, I can't remember what it was, and someone in the city's like, you realize that was like the worst person who ever lived here, right? I'm like, I did not know that. So we always like to get some input, and what we had presented, staff was less than enthusiastic on just because of some of the other uses of the name more recently. And so they helped guide us to some of the history of the land, and that's where the name came from. So I always love when we can have a little bit of connection. You know, it sounds great to say like, you know, I don't know, Pheasant Run Estates or something, but after a while that's so meaningless. And so to have some connection to the land, and so Gloverdale does absolutely have connection to the land, and so we're actually excited about the name.
Well, I'm surprised, staff, you didn't come up with like Foul Air Acres. I wasn't suggesting, Monica, F-O-U-L. I was thinking F-O-W-L. I know your mind went there, but.
With that, I'll sit back down. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
No other question? Motion to approve the concept plan for Gloverdale development.
I'll make a motion to approve the concept plan.
I have a second.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Not Michelle, take the roll, please.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderperson Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vreeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is rezoning application, 12.5 acres of Gloverdale, PID 026-1029-30-000.
I will offer a motion that we approve ordinance 586.
Second?
Do we have to suspend the rules on that one? No.
I was thinking about suspending the rules, so. Suspending the rules.
Suspending the rules.
I'll second that.
Want to take the roll, please?
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderperson Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vreeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Motion passes. Request for use city-owned property for Fat Bike World Championship. We had it last year, and they're applying again.
Yeah, so the main event again will be at the golf course. For the last number of years, the Big Ring Flyers have used some of the city-owned property near 45th Parallel, both on the east side and west side of Madison Avenue. So it'd be the same location as this last year's event, and we hope it's a big success. And obviously, we got our first snow here today. So city staff would recommend approval of the request to use city-owned property in the business and technical park in support of the Fat Bike World Championships this upcoming January.
I was out at the golf course for that event. It was really tremendous. I'll offer a motion that we approve the request property in the business and tech Fat Bike World Championships.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? If not, you want to take the roll, Michelle?
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderperson Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vreeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Motion passes. Employee handbook updates.
Sarah's back at. I'll give a brief overview of this item. So we're not seeking any action tonight on the employee handbook. Just wanted to kind of give you a preview of some of the items that you'll see in the next couple of months. So at our November work session, we'll be going through some formatting changes, as well as a lot of previously approved policies that have already been approved. They're just not actually in the book itself. They're just kind of freestanding. Then as we work through December and January, we'd bring forward any new policies as well as any revisions to our existing policies. You'll see this kind of as a standing item for the next several months. So the agenda memo in your packet kind of goes through a more detailed timeline. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Sarah Reese.
Questions? If not, we'll move on. Sex offender residency restrictions, ordinance 585.
So Chief Yalick and I will take this one. So this item was discussed at the last Public Safety Committee meeting. Included in your agenda packet this evening is a red line version of our existing ordinance and then showing the proposed changes. And essentially, our current ordinances identify specific parks, bike trails, schools. And so anytime we add a new daycare center, or there's a new school, or a new library, or a new trail added, we have to go through the process of updating our ordinances. We really felt it was more efficient to, instead of doing that, to just say it's any city park or trail, any school, any daycare center. That way we don't have to constantly update it. So that's 30-second summary of the red lines that you see. So essentially striking out all of the specific addresses and names of all the various parks and trails. You'll see some of these haven't been updated in several years. I think we still have the address of the old school listed on here, but a lot of parks and trails that are currently missing. So this has been, like I said, discussed by public safety, was reviewed by the city attorney as well. And I don't know, Chief Yalick, if anything I missed or?
Nope, you pretty much covered it. It's not a huge change from what the city council has put in place in the past. It's not changing the geographic restriction. It's just making it easier for us to update the map and answer people's questions when they call, whether they can live in a certain area or not. So it just helps us answer their question in a timely fashion, basically.
Offer a motion that we approve ordinance number 585 as it has been updated.
It actually.
587.
Sorry?
My fault.
You had it wrong, it's 587.
I just wanted to hear her say that a couple times. So that we approve ordinance number 587.
Want to hear she had it wrong, or the 587?
That way it all works as it's been presented tonight.
Second.
Further discussion? Michelle, you want to take the roll on
Alderperson-
587?
Alderperson Kraft,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert.
Yes.
Motion passes. Fire station exhaust removal system.
So this item was also discussed at the last Public Safety Committee meeting. This project was identified in the 2022 capital improvement plan for the fire department. It's part of the capital budget for the fire department, so it is a cost share between the city and the townships. And essentially, the exhaust removal system collects vehicle exhaust directly from the tailpipe or the overhead stacks on each vehicle, removes it from the building. That way our firefighters aren't being exposed to that exhaust. So
What do we have currently?
open
Nothing.
the door and,
Okay.
Yep.
There's nothing there at all.
No.
Okay.
So most new fire stations are gonna have this incorporated into it. Obviously,
Yeah.
we have an older station, so.
Gotta
But
do it.
if you go to Hudson or new communities where they built a new fire station, this is pretty standard practice. And you'll see it in a lot of, whether it be a car dealership, auto mechanic. So we had quotes. Our initial estimate for the price was $100,000. We were recommending proceeding with Magna Grip in the amount of $90,927. And this is reflected in both our 2022 and 2023 capital plan because we recognize it's November, so it likely won't be completed until next year.
And I just think it's important to point out that unlike a car dealership, which is a stationary exhaust systems kind of move and release from the truck. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that we approve the amount of $90,927 as it's spelled out in the bid for the exhaust removal for the fire department.
I'll second it.
I guess our share is about 50,000, right around there.
Yeah, a little over half, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that we're not doing the whole 90, we're just doing whatever the formula comes out to. Further discussion? If not, Michelle, you want to take the roll, please?
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries, Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderperson Kraft.
Yes.
Motion passes. Preliminary resolution 112202, vacation of alley near RCU was the BB project.
So this resolution is just beginning the process of vacating a portion of the alley that's located between Anytime Fitness and the new BB Lofts. Anytime we vacate public right-of-way, public alley, public street, it's a several-month process. So this is a preliminary resolution. You would see a final resolution brought forward in January. We have to notify the surrounding property owners. They've all been involved in discussions of this. So the photo you see on the screen is looking north. You can see we have utilities have been located. We used to have overhead wires over in that area. As part of the BB Lofts, a lot of that's been moved underground. Vehicles will no longer be able to cut through the RCU parking lot and going south or north, then between RCU and West 3rd Street. So the resolution just starts the vacation process. Basically, the portion you see there in the photo where the box is located, that would be deeded to a Rural Credit Union. We would maintain a utility easement. That way we can still service and access the utilities as needed. But happy to answer any questions that you have, but otherwise the recommendation from staff would be to approve preliminary resolution number 112202.
And the rules on this one or
No, you don't have
not
to.
on this one?
Nope.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Further questions?
It's really not an option. We have to vacate it. That's the picture of the old alley.
Right.
So there's not a whole lot of options.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe a bike.
So
Walking,
yeah,
you
vehicles
can
no
walk
longer
around
would
it.
be able to travel through. The Gerard Corporation would still plan to use a portion of the alley on the north side for their garbage truck access.
Oh,
But you wouldn't
okay.
be able to cut through and drive your vehicle through.
And RCU's happy about that anyway.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Alderman Vries?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderperson Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Motion passes. City of New Richmond classification update. We went from a 4th class city to a 3rd class city.
Get what the size says.
And I guess state ordinance or laws that we have to make a notice on this, I think, Noah?
Yeah, so there's a proclamation included in the agenda packet. And like the mayor said, because we're over 10,000, this is part of the process of going from a 4th class to a 3rd class city. In the next few months, we'll have some additional updates to our city ordinances, as well as actually for the library bylaws. One change that'll come from this is in the future, the library board will actually go from 7 to 9 members. And then one of the more noticeable changes as well is our extraterritorial jurisdiction was 1.5 miles, will now go to 3 miles. So we'll make sure our ordinances are updated as part of this, but the proclamation is just a requirement.
Eric, you and I have talked about this before, and I've talked to you, Noah, as well. There has been a question by folks about population signs in the city of New Richmond. And I don't know, is there 4? But it's important if folks understand that maybe you can tell everybody which ones are our jurisdictions and which ones aren't. Why the difference for the numbers?
Every single exact sign, but yeah, some of them are the county's jurisdiction. The one, I believe, talking about the one on
By the hospital.
West, 4th Street. I think that sign's actually sitting in the street shop right now, so it's just got to be.
You're putting a digital reader in there, is that true?
Yeah.
Change
show
every
it
day.
ticking up.
But anyhow, but it is interesting because when I asked the question, I learned that the county signs are done based off the census, and the city sign is actually updated every year. Can be updated every year, and so they won't probably agree. So how many people live here depends on which part of town you drive into.
And there was another major change that Noah didn't mention. I found out when I took my campaign papers out, the previous mayor only had to get 50 signatures. I had to get 200. But the alderman stayed the same at 20. Now, where's the fairness there?
Sounds good.
What's the question?
Ron spoke.
Question has been made already and answered. Your motion to approve the enrichment classification update.
Motion to approve the proclamation.
I second it.
Discussion? Al?
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert? Alderperson Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Breeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Passes. Water meter purchase.
Including your package is just a short memo from Dave Pufall, our water superintendent. We had ordered water meters earlier in May. A lot of our suppliers have been putting limits on, just due to supply chain issues, of how many meters you can actually order at one time. So since we made our initial purchase in May, we were notified that we have the ability to purchase 40 more. Because this purchase is over $25,000, it has to come forward to the City Council. So we would be seeking authorization to increase our purchase order. For our initial order was $24,000. This would increase the order to $30,720. And just given the delays we have as well, but we've still that continued new construction, we want to make sure that we have meters on hand and aren't slowing up projects.
Really is a water utility department expenditure, right?
Yes.
Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that we approve the increase from $24,000 to $30,720 to order, get 192 meters instead of 160.
Second.
Any further discussion?
These meters aren't, they're not gonna get old, they're not gonna become obsolete.
No, we'll use them this year.
Yeah.
We were, since I've started, I think it's been pretty sporadic, getting meters. It's been a challenge. Beginning of this past summer, we were actually trying to come up with a plan on what we'd do for new construction because we were out of meters. And luckily we got a shipment in, to keep us up, but yeah, we'll definitely use these.
Christie taking a roll, or is that Michelle?
Christie's been taking roll all night.
Christie is. I want to blame the right person.
But did you use the word, what was it? What was it?
Phraseology.
Phraseology? Okay, thank you. We're gonna get that added to the dictionary, by the way. They consider new words all the time.
I think it's in there.
Okay. Pretty sure it's not, but I am gonna look it up. I'm totally looking it up.
I'm going to take the roll, please.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert? Alderperson Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Breeze?
Yes.
Motion passes. Third quarter 2022 financial report.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. I know we've been a little bit numbers heavy this evening, so I'm just going to extrapolate some key aspects of the third quarter report for you. The balance of the information really is in the report, so if there's any particular questions that the council has, we would certainly be able to drill in a little bit deeper in those questions that you have. But as of September 30th, revenues collected were just over 6.3 million, accounting for 84.8%. This is very much in line to prior year of the same time as well. Again, at this time of the year, the largest revenue drivers are obviously going to be the property tax collections being collected in full. We have a good amount of our state shared revenues that are collected. There is one piece that we collect in November that's pretty substantial, about $400,000 we estimate that would be collected in November. But at the point, at the end of third quarter, most of our intergovernmental revenues are collected. So we are on target for where we would typically see year over year. So we anticipate that we will meet budget from a revenue perspective and potentially exceed in certain areas. Building inspection being one of those, already being at 114.5% of the budget with $318,000 in collections at the end of September. Additionally, we had some miscellaneous revenue that was also collected through the end of third quarter, which is tracking slightly above our budget, and that was due to some proceeds from the auctioning off of surplus equipment as well. From an expenditure standpoint, expenditures are tracking very nicely to budget at just over 5.5 million, which accounts for 74.3% of the budget. We do have areas in the budget where expenses are trending a little bit higher. We're seeing that in the general government expenditures, expenses that were not anticipated as part of the budgeting process, included the raise expenses for the 707 East 6th Street property, additional legal expenses associated with employment matters, some additional auditing expenditures, and computer software. Overall, though, we are tracking at that. Typically at this time of year, we want to see 75% of your expenditures incurred, so that remaining 25% would be fourth quarter. So again, we're tracking nicely, even though there's some areas that have maybe a little bit higher spending, there's other areas that have a little bit lower spending. So in whole, it's offsetting, and we're really in a good position at the end of the year, and would anticipate that we will end the year on budget. Just on expenditure sides, just a few more notable areas that I would like to draw your attention to. The police department, we have seen some favorable variances in overtime and salaries and benefits. Again, this is kind of due to the timing of the hiring of the 2 new patrol officers. On the street maintenance or street sides, there is an increase when compared to the prior year's actual expenditures, but again, that's due to the increase in budget that was in 2022, trying to work to get to those pre-COVID funding levels. And also, there were some retirements, so the medical reserve accounts were paid out as well. Any questions? I know I kind of covered those at just a very high level. I think kind of the takeaway from this is that revenues are matching where we would anticipate them to be. We didn't have any large variances in what we were projecting from budget to what's actually been incurred. Again, on the expenditure side, we have seen some areas, we have seen gas and utility expenses increasing, but some of those costs being absorbed by some lower than budgeted spending in other areas. So overall, I think some of the revenue increases that we see from the miscellaneous revenue coming in, if we do have a little bit of expenditure overage, we should be in a place where we cover our expenditures fully by the end of the year.
Questions? Thank you. Good report again. Any communication or miscellaneous?
Just briefly, trying to be forward-thinking and thinking for recruitment down the road. I was just actually notified today that so far the next Recruit Academy has 1 applicant that I'm sure people will be fighting over if they actually hold a class for that. So that'll make things interesting. But we found a free training for a couple of our officers to go to. It's a peer support, basically, offering our police officers in town some peer support for any time an officer may be in crisis or going through something, whether it's personal in nature or work-related. So Officer Jared McLean and Kat Halfstead went to this free training down in La Crosse last week, and we're pretty excited about what they're bringing back. And Jared actually made such a good impression on the instructors down there that they've asked him to consider being an instructor moving forward. This is a very new program in the state. So we look forward to bringing more to that to public safety as time goes on. This literally should cost nothing for police department budget, but I think it's going to be a fantastic program for our officers and their mental health. So I just wanted to let you know that took place this last week, and we're pretty excited to see how it goes. We're going to take the next 3 months to evaluate, put some ideas on paper, and bring them to public safety. And not sure if anything will ultimately have to come to the council, but I wanted you to all be aware that we are working on some things like that.
Any other communication?
Well, I always have an election update. If you didn't vote, you're too late. I'm sorry. But for real, thank you to all the election workers. They worked so hard, did an awesome job. We had a flawless election.
Do we have any idea who put up the thank you election workers signs in the community?
I do. The
Okay.
League of Women Voters. They're the ones who put out the Vote Tuesday and Vote for
Yep.
Home signs. And just, I'm suspicious because when those signs came down, the thank you election worker signs went up in the same
Okay.
exact place. So I'm going to assume the League of Women Voters.
Okay. Yes, it's very nice.
Michelle, I think if I understand correctly, the turnout was strong for a
Yep.
election, but it appeared to
We had the.
that's probably the biggest reason we saw the line going out the door during.
Correct. There was no line for already, very small line for anybody if you were already registered, but lines formed for folks who registered that day. We had a meeting today at the county that other clerks were there, and nobody had 412 election day registrations like the city of New Richmond did. So we will continue to educate better that you can register on election day, but Christy and I can also help you register any other day of the year, except for the day before an election, and hopefully get some of that taken care of so nobody's waiting in line like that when they vote. But it was a strong turnout. It wasn't record-breaking for us by percentage, but of course, as the community grows, 60% becomes a much bigger number. So it was good turnout.
Thanks, Michelle. Any other communication? Not, do your motion go into closed session?
Make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second it.
And that's per state statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and per Wisconsin statute 19.851G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to become involved. First item is purchase agreement 262 North Knowles Avenue, former Dairy Queen site. Next is 19.851E, cooperative agreement, Community Development Authority and City of New Richmond, TID number 7, sale of 262 North Knowles Avenue. And 19.851G, Richard Hafner versus New Richmond City Council. Take the roll, please.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vreese?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert? Alderman Kraft?
Yes.
We are in closed session.
This
Anybody wanna take a break?
conference is no longer being recorded.